Good. I take it that you listened to the Honorable Minister of State and, of course, Ambassador Aga,
yes,
explaining what transpired, during the MC12. But I'm so concerned about Africa and in particular Nigeria with respect to world trade. Yes, we have our own daughter who is heading the place, but that does not mean that we will have it all. Listen, my understanding, high school understanding of economics or commerce as subjects, is that balance of trade is the difference between exports and the imports of commodities made to or by a country in a particular year. We have known that there's no proper balance of trade with respect to trading across the globe. African countries oftentimes subchanged, if you like. So how has this MC12 conference taken care of Africa's position in terms of not being properly capacitated, to produce commodities and goods that they could export as a continent? For instance, of course, we import more than we export. Right. So is WTO conference, taking a look at this very critical, situation against the African continent?
Thank you very much, and I also want to join the Honorable Minister to thank the President for providing the political will to us to negotiate very, very well. And the Minister who led the delegation has really done a lot in terms of facilitating the active participation of the Nigerian delegation with a push for our position to be organized during the ministerial conference. Based on your question, prior to the ministerial conference, here in Geneva, we have what we call African group. And African group will normally come together to discuss on each of the negotiating issues and also taking consideration of our national positions, and we harmonize positions. So that I think we have done, and that has helped the African countries in pushing forward their negotiating positions in the ministerial conference that took place. If you look at the decisions and the declarations that you've mentioned, about 10 of them, in each of these issues clearly reflected the interests of the African countries. Let's take, for instance, the issue of the e-commerce, that is the work program on e-commerce. It's been, for some time, we have been agitating for the reinvigoration of the e-commerce program, which of course the African countries all agreed to push forward on the discussions on the e-commerce work program, the view of the current situation globally. We are in a digital world now, and of course, no country should be left behind. So that has been taken care of. If you look at another issue on fishery subsidies, the fishery subsidy agreement has been on the table for the past 20 years until now that we have been able to make it possible. The interests of the African countries are reflected, even though we will continue to discuss, because there are still some areas of special and differential treatment which has to do with the de minimis, the transition period, and the nautical miles, which we will continue to discuss on the disciplines. So the other area is the issue of the food security. Globally, in fact, the African countries, due to COVID-19, are largely affected with the negative consequences of the COVID-19. So in that regard, in this decision of the food security decision, it was largely agreed that necessary actions must be taken to address the insecurity of food in our countries, which of course we are largely affected. So if you also look at the WTO response to pandemic, there are also some basic areas where the interests of Africa are largely captured in the sense of some trade restrictions that can harm some of our food security and many other things, trade facilitations and the rest. So eventually, I can vividly say that the interests of Africa are captured in all the issues that we negotiated in the ministerial conference. And the outcomes were very positive to us. And of course, it was all jubilating that for the first time, the ministerial conference with our sister in the head of affairs have been able to achieve tremendously in this ministerial conference. About 10 decisions, which for a very long time it has not happened. If you look at the history of all the past ministerial conferences, how many decisions were made in most of them? Some none at all. But this particular one, we got a lot. And of course, where Africa is happy is that all the issues have been captured based on the interests of the African members.
Ambassador Adamu Abu Hamid, thank you very much. Let me still stay with you and get the benefit of your presence in Geneva. You are Nigeria's ambassador to the WTO, which is the World Trade Organization. If you went through the literature on international economic law, international economic reforms, and indeed, the comments of some Nigerian players in the economy, the view was always expressed that we somehow walked into the WTO, which took over which was the organization that replaced GATT, that's the General Agreement on Trade and Tariffs, in 1995, without having a handle on some of the issues, which is why it was said that we were having some challenges with our trade relations and so on and so forth. But the happy comments that I've heard from the Honorable Minister of State, Nigeria's chief trade negotiator, and yourself now in Geneva would seem to suggest that we are engaging a new gear in terms of, one, our understanding of WTO, and secondly, seeking to properly situate Nigeria's interest in WTO. Is that the case?
You are very correct. Let me tell you, before the coming on board of the current administration, which is the Director General of the World Trade Organization, everyone that has been following the happenings in the WTO will definitely confirm to you that things were really not going well because of the fact that there were a lot of mistrust among the members. There were a lot of challenges facing the WTO. In fact, most countries have started losing hope because of the challenges facing the multilateral trading system, particularly the WTO. So with the coming of the DG, current DG, in fact, during the campaign, she already promised members that she was coming as a reformist to ensure that the image and the integrity of the World Trade Organization is restored. And as soon as she took over, she started with that zeal. And she was able to mobilize all the members to come back to the table and to continue the negotiations. With that, Nigeria's image, in view of the fact that she is the leader in the World Trade Organization Secretariat, is really very popular. Now, we that are here representing Nigeria in participating in all the negotiations, and with the support of our ministers and stakeholders back home, we are able to liaise with the office of the DG and of course the chairs of all the negotiating groups to push our positions, and our positions are being recognized. So the leadership role played by Nigeria at the moment in the World Trade Organization is really recognized internationally. So we are really making much effort to ensure that more benefit goes to Nigeria. I can even confirm to you that after the visit of the DG, thanks visit to the president at that time by the DG, by the time she returned, we put all the reports together of our coalition of interest from Nigeria, and we started working seriously. I can tell you that a lot of things from that period to now have been realized in terms of the support to the SMEs, in terms of the support to the trade standard development. And so there are many things that we are working, technical assistance program and so on. So really, as you said, the interest of Nigeria is really being recognized now in the WTO. And globally, they are appreciating the effort and support of Nigeria in contribution to the development of the multilateral trading system at the moment.
Thank you, Ambassador Demo Abdul Hamid, Nigeria's ambassador to WTO. Honorable Minister, Nigeria has been engaged in previous WTO meetings, even before it became